What's up, everybody? It's Thursday, which is not usually when we get tactical, but we have a whole Tyranid faction to talk about for 10th edition now. So that's very exciting. It's Tyranid Index Day for Warhammer 40k 10th edition. We don't have any points values for anything, but we do have, excuse me, I'm drinking coffee, so got a little bit in my mouth. We do have all of the rules and all of the data sheets, which is sweet. So that's awesome, and that's what we're going to be going through today. Now, I have not gone through this very far. I'm only a little tiny bit in. What I've seen so far is, I guess, shall we say, kind of uninspiring, I guess, but that just might be how 10th edition goes. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting journey, I think, because Tyranids look like they're doing a lot different stuff than they did in other previous editions. They're not fast anymore, and I don't know. It doesn't feel like they have a particular faction focus, I guess, but they are very tricksy, and I think they're going to be a little bit more ranged focused than they have been in the past, at least from what I've seen thus far. But yeah, let's freaking jump into this stuff. So here we are. The first stuff that is in the index. So this is the entire index. So we see it has all the army rules, which are Synapse and Shadow in the Warp. This is all stuff we know before, but just as a refresher, Synapse, as long as you're within 6 inches of a Synapse creature, you're going to see the ability on a bunch of different cards, and it just gives you the ability to benefit from stuff with the Synapse keyword. So in order to broadcast Synapse, you have to have the ability and the keyword. In order to receive Synapse, you just have to have the ability. But if you have the ability, then while you're within range of a Synapse creature, you get 3d6 on your leadership checks. Or I guess specifically just Battle Shock, which is interesting. I guess not other leadership. Rather than 2d6, which is like a huge benefit. It basically makes you like immune to morale. It's like not quite the same, but you have like a 20% chance of failing basically. And then Shadow in the Warp, once per game in either player's command phase, you can pulse Battle Shock onto everybody and make them take a Battle Shock check, which of course they'll pass, so your army ability doesn't do anything. The detachment rule for Invasion Fleet. At the start of the first battle round, so after deployment happens, after you see everything, you get to pick one of these abilities. Either you get sustained hits against infantry, you get lethal hits against monsters, or you get precision on critical hits against characters, which is like not very good, I think. We do have some ways to buff critical hits, as we see here. Adrenaline Surge gives you critical hits on a 5+, so we'll have to keep our eye out for devastating wound stuff in melee that can give you critical hits. But that definitely seems like the one where you're just like, maybe someday I'll pick that one. Because like if they have a character inside a unit, you almost might as well just take the Swarming Instincts to get better sustained hits against the unit anyway. I don't really know why you would take the precision one, but maybe there's a situation. Maybe it's a metagame selection that we are not yet privy to. Yeah, that's the words. The stratagems. They're kind of whatever, but they are kind of cheap. Adrenaline Surge costs 2 for some reason. I don't know why my selection's messed up, but it costs 2 for whatever reason. That one, I guess because if you're within Synapse, so a lot of the other sort of Tyranid sub-theme is that while you're within Synapse, you get extra bonuses, and that's part of your stratagems. So Adrenaline Surge affects 2 units, and they both get the 5+ critical hits if they haven't fought in melee yet. If they're both in Synapse. Rapid Regeneration gets you a 6+ Feel No Pain, which improves to a 5+ Feel No Pain if you're in Synapse. And I kind of feel like a lot of these are like, well, if you just play Synapse creatures, you don't have to worry about being in Synapse range. So I don't know if we just start, everything just starts pushing towards everything being a Synapse creature, or being like a little tight, compact unit where you don't have that many different types of models to think of. I don't know. We'll see. Death Frenzy is a fight on death. It's when you're selected as the target in the fight phase, and it's basically, it's a side grade from only in Death Does Duty End. The first time I read it, I was like, oh, this is just garbage. Only in Death Does Duty End, which is the Space Marine stratagem to fight when you die. And that one happens automatically. But if I remember correctly, and in fact, I'm sure that I have this on my hard drive, and I can just look at it. I'm fairly certain that only in Death Does Duty End only triggers once. Oh, no, it does trigger it until the end of the phase. So it's identical, except the Tyranid one is half as expensive because Tyranids don't get free stratagems like Space Marines do, but it only triggers on a 4+. So it's like an exact side grade. This one is not benefited if you're in Synapse. I kind of wish it would like automatically trigger if you were in Synapse or something, but no. And then Overrun is also here, but it's much different. It's kind of not great now. If you're in Synapse, you can, when you consolidate, you can move up to 6 inches. So it's kind of the old 8th edition Overrun, where if you destroy whatever you're melee with and you're not near any enemy units, when you consolidate, you can make a normal move. Except its movement distance is like reduced by 2/3, basically. You move up to 6 inches now, which is not super useful. It can get you into cover. It can do objective stuff. Otherwise, it lets you do, if you're not in Synapse, you can consolidate 6 inches instead of 3. But you have to consolidate into melee. So you don't get to do the thing where you consolidate onto objectives, which is sad. So when you use the stratagem, basically you lose the ability to do the consolidation onto objectives. But to be fair, if you're out of melee anyway, you're just gonna do the move 6 inches thing. Hopefully, if you're in Synapse, and you have like Neurotyrants and stuff that can broadcast your Synapse, so it might be fine. Synaptic Insight, 1 CP in your command phase, 2 Tyranid units in Synapse range, or 1 Tyranid unit anywhere, you get a hyper adaptation until the until when? Until the end of the battle round, excuse me. So that's like hilariously very bad if you are going second. That's weird. So if you're going first, you can give them an adaptation and then it's active through your turn and their turn. If you're going second, it's only through your turn and then it expires. Why wouldn't it be until your next command phase? I don't know. Whatever. I don't think that matters so much, unless you're taking hits back. But basically, you want that to get like lethal hits on a vehicle for 1 CP, basically, which is like for 1 CP, that's actually a very good ability to have. This stratagem, I bet, is very good. You get either lethal hits on a vehicle or sustained hits on an infantry. And that's pretty sweet. If you haven't already selected that one, you selected a different one. And then Endless Swarm, this is what when we saw Spoiled. This gets you D3+3 destroyed, Endless Multitude units if they're in Synapse, or 1 Endless Multitude if they're out of Synapse, which is basically just Gantz as far as I can tell, which is not amazing. Tyranids, significantly worse at regenerating their units than Imperial Guard are. Imperial Guard just get them back, the whole unit back, but Tyranids are like putting 4 models back at a time. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, let's move on. So we have some enhancements, and the enhancements actually look sweet. These enhancements are super duper good. Perfectly Adapted gets a return. Once per turn, you get a hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, advanced charge, or saving throw made for the bearer, which I believe if you attach them to a unit would also apply to their unit. Because a charge roll for the bearer is going to be synonymous with the charge roll for the whole unit. That one might need an FAQ. I don't know, actually. Because I'm sure you couldn't reroll a saving throw for a bodyguard unit. Because it only specifically affects the model carrying the equipment. So charge rolls in a bodyguarded unit might be funky. That one might be strange. But that ability has always been good. There's like never been an edition where Perfectly Adapted is not great. It's just like you get 10 CP rerolls over the course of a game, just like for the cost of 1 enhancement. So that's amazing. Adaptive Biology is better than it was, which is wild. You get a built-in 5+ feel no pain, and then if you ever lose any wounds and don't die at the start of the next turn, it improves to a 4+ feel no pain. Now, as far as I know, there's no way to actually heal your models, so you don't get to like double dip on this like you did in last edition, where you could be like, oh, I'm gonna adapt to biology or catalyst and then take some damage and then 1 CP to rapid regenerate and go back to full and then take some damage again. But getting a 4+ Feel No Pain is nuts. So that's great. Synaptic Linchpin expands your synapse from 6 up to 9. That one's not that exciting. That's probably the one that you cut, honestly. And then Alien Cunning gets you 3 redeploys. Let's go! Tyranids are redeploying again, chat. We're back to Leviathan supplement days where we could actually redeploy stuff. Very, very good. Why would you ever take Perfectly Adapted? Get out of here, chat. So the reason you take Perfectly Adapted is because you can put it on Hive Tyrants that have both ranged and melee attacks. So you get like tons and tons of opportunities to use your Perfectly Adapted reroll. That's mostly what you use it for. But also you could put it on things like even just a Neurotyrant with the ability, right? Can use it on defensively on saving throws or offensively on its Torrent weapon. It's just a good ability to have. 4++ is rough to choose, or 4+ Feel No Pain. FNP 4. We need a better. Feel No Pain's just like it's 3 syllables. It's too many syllables, and it doesn't abbreviate well. I don't know. We need a better. I liked Damage Ignore because you could say a 4+ Ignore, right? But it is what it is. Do these cost points? They do cost points. You can only have up to 3. But they do, you do purchase them in your list for points. So the other thing to consider is how many points they cost as well. But I think most of the time, if you have 3 good ones in your enhancement slot, and I think honestly, I would consider taking any 4 of these, any of the 4 here. If you have 3 good ones, you're probably going to be paying for them unless they're super expensive. Unless they're like 50 points or something, I think you're going to be slotting these in. Shrug is good. I like Shrug for Feel No Pain, but it's it makes sense. But I think if you were new and somebody said Shrug, you'd be like, "What is that?" And then they'd have to explain it to you. I want to say a 4+ Feel or something, a 4+ Painless maybe. They're Painless 4+. It's like the same number of syllables though. All right, let's go into data sheets. How many enhancements do you get? It is unclear. I believe you can always have up to 3, but you have to pay for them. So you don't have to purchase them, and if you don't purchase them, then you just save points. So it's not like Warlord traits in the last edition, where if you weren't taking your Warlord traits, you were leaving money on the table. It's totally an option. So there have been some the Imperial Guard. Enhancements that we've seen so far, or the 4 in their detachment, were kind of whatever. And I think it's not the end of the world if you have kind of whatever enhancements, because you just leave them at home at that point. Use the AOS term? Yeah, that's even more confusing though, I think, chat. All right, let's get into some data sheets. Now, unfortunately for me, the sucker that I am, I own 4 Winged Hive Tyrants, which I will not be using anytime soon, I think, because this data sheet is not great. It's T9, so average toughness value, low wounds count for a vehicle. 2+ armor, 4+ invuln is good. And to be fair, it is a big model, so it's easy to draw line of sight to, but it's hard to get full visibility to. So it's actually going to be permanently in cover. So it's basically a 1+ save. So it is harder to kill than it looks like, but only 10 wounds. And you'll notice down here, no lone operative, no leader. So Raboot Galeman over here, that big dummy gets lone operative, but the Winged Hive Tyrant, this 4 Winged Hive Tyrant does not. A model that's 11 inches wide, so it's going to have line of sight drawn to it constantly. So if your opponent's worried about it, they're just going to shoot it to death, and you're like, great, cool, thank you. The melee, or the profiles are kind of whatever. We're basically back to these are just literally, I think, the 8th edition profiles for these weapons, which is not amazing. The HVC is a D3 Blast, which is good. Blast is actually a solid keyword now. It's not just big nothing. So it's usually going to be D3+1 if you're shooting an infantry, or D3+2 maybe. It's Strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage, and then the Stranglethorn is D6 plus 1. Strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage. AP 1's like big garbo right now, because I think you can expect that most of the time you're firing into cover. There are some ways to get around cover, though, I have noticed in this faction. So it's not, cover's not like the be-all, end-all. I should probably give a little bit of a... Let me zoom out my display here, chat, so it doesn't cut off the other side of the sheet. There we go. Does that look a little bit better? Nope, that didn't do anything. All right, here we go. Nailed it. Nailed it. Perfect. We're doing it live. He has so he can do he can do a 0 CP stratagem thing. Oh, so he has like a rites of battle actually. You get a friendly Tyranid unit within 12 inches. You can use a stratagem for 0 CP even if another unit from your army has been targeted with the same stratagem's phase. All right, so that's actually like pretty solid. That nets you 1 CP because Tyranids don't have any. I guess they have 1 2 CP stratagem. You have Adrenaline Surge. And I guess how does that work if you have multiple targets? I imagine that allows you to target 2 things even if they're not both in range, right? Of the stratagem? That might need a clarification. That's weird because there's so many stratagems in Tyranids that have multiple targets. I don't know how that would work. Do you have to have both targets in range to drop the CP cost to 0, or can it work if you just have one of them and then the other one can be wherever as long as it's in Synapse range? He also has a Psychic Power, Paroxysm. Start of the fight phase, you select an enemy unit within 12. On a 2+, you reduce their attack value by 1, which is pretty good because it doesn't say minimum of 0. So if you have a 1 attack unit, you stop them from attacking at all. So that's a very good Psychic Power. Obviously, on a 1, you take D3 mortal wounds because you're a Psyker and you suck. I guess he also doesn't degrade too, so that's pretty good. All right. I'm slowly coming around on you, Winged Hive Tyrant. Now, he has... he can take, I think, either Big Gun or... yeah, he just has a Bone Sword and Lash Whip in his Talons. The Talons aren't extra attacks anymore, so you don't get them in addition. Oh, Inky's here to talk about Tyranids too. Inky, tell us about Winged Hive Tyrants. So he doesn't get extra attacks for having that, but the Monstrous Bone Sword is like it's a fine profile, I guess. It has Twin Linked built in, so basically, like, you don't have Voracious Appetite anymore. You just are Twin Linked, but its AP sucks because everything's AP sucks now. And it's only Strength 9, so it's like wounding most vehicles on 5s, re-rolling, and then they save on like 4s or 5s. So it actually only does like maybe 3 or 6 damage to a vehicle, which is like, and then you could also take a Heavy Venom Cannon. So his damage output is like super naff. If you take the Monstrous Scything Talons, they get extra attacks. So he ends up swinging with 9 Strength 7 AP 2 damage attacks, which is good, but you're gonna bounce off anything that's, you know, bigger than a Terminator, basically, which is kind of whatever. Yeah, so right now, like, characteristic modifiers, chat, are a huge open question because they're not addressed in the core rulebook for whatever reason. Despite the fact that they put characteristic modifiers in every single faction in the game, they just decided not to address them. Theoretically, it's going to be in, like, the designer commentary FAQ, but we don't know yet whether or not there is a cap on characteristic reduction. If there is not, if there is, I think it's actually, like, this ability is, whatever. I think there's a lot of abilities that get kind of sag if there is a cap at 1 of characteristic reductions, but who knows. All right. So that's the Winged Hive Tyrant. I don't know what to think about this guy. The Foot Hive Tyrant also has Will of the Hive Mind and can actually join units. So I kind of think the Winged Hive Tyrant is just kind of not doing anything. He's also lower toughness than the Foot Hive Tyrant. So he's easier to kill. He's easier to draw line of sight to. He can't be protected by bodyguards. So I don't know. I guess he's just there for paroxysm. But the other thing to mention, too, is that these guys don't have a psychic ranged attack either. So if you unequip their ranged weapon, they don't shoot at all. They just don't have a ranged output, like full stop, which is new. That's the first time a Hive Tyrant has not done anything in the shooting phase, to my knowledge, which is strange. So I don't love that. So the Foot Hive Tyrant, these guys come with the two. Oh my god, this cat. Kitty, come up here. What? Here she is. You gonna hang out and you gonna chill and be quiet? Yeah, there you go. Cutie pie. Or maybe not. Maybe she'll escape. So they have the same equipment loadouts that they could previously. They finally have the note down here that you can't equip like double of the same the same cannon, which is good. You can't have both the Stranglethorn and Venom, or more than one have Venom or Stranglethorn, which is they finally stopped messing that up. So you're, I guess, like, because the Scything Talons are 4 additional attacks, it's actually you are kind of incentivized to take the Scything Talons and go just real ham in melee, which I kind of like, because the heavy Venom Cannon, I mean, it's good if you're the perfectly adapted guy, but like otherwise it's not that amazing of a profile, to be perfectly honest with you. He's also got Will of the Hive Mind built in, and then he has Onslaught, which grants ranged weapons the assault ability, which is fine, I guess. I shouldn't say that. That's actually very good. Specifically, in the mission format that we have right now, having assault allows you to perform the new equivalent of actions, even if you advance.
Legend. Cheers, Trevi.
Hey, Ben W. with the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, dude. This the old 1337. Perfect. I love that. So because you have to be eligible to shoot in order to perform actions, and assault weapons allow you to, or make you eligible even though you advanced. Normally, you wouldn't be able to perform actions when you advance, but because you're still eligible when you have an assault weapon, then you can. So granting assault in a huge aura is actually sweet, because you can like chain a Termagant or something down to the Hive Tyrant, and then the whole Termagant unit can advance, and then they can like do a teleport homer or whatever it is they're trying to do, like do the ritual, like place an objective marker or something. So actually, this actually is pretty good. But again, no ranged psychic power. Like, what the fuck? But he is tough to kill. T10, 2+ save, 4+ invuln. It's all right. I guess T10 is like a good breakpoint because it means that Meltaguns wound you on 5s. So that's pretty solid. Although for the most part, he's probably going to be inside a Tyrant Guard unit. So he's actually going to be toughness 8. Spoiler alert, Tyrant Guard toughness 8. The Swarmlord is just a Foot Hive Tyrant. We've seen him before. He doesn't have any psychic powers, but he does have his Synaptic Pulse. So Tyranids are actually, if they build for Swarmlord, they can actually be pretty CP efficient. Because if you bring a regular Hive Tyrant plus Swarmlord, which I'm all in about, I love that composition, you get 1 CP every turn from Swarmlord, and then you get a free stratagem every turn from or every battle round, I assume. Once per turn? Holy shit. This guy just has Gilliman's aura. Just kidding. Hold up. Hive Tyrants are just Gilliman now? Okay, so you get 2 free stratagems from the Hive Tyrant and a CP for free from the Swarmlord every turn? Oh my god. Inky, I'm on stream. You gotta calm down, girl. That's like a ton. That's a ton of command points, actually. Tyranids are just like bathing in command points. Alright, well, that's pretty good. He's got his sweet flamethrower, which is like really good against intercessors. I guess it doesn't ignore cover, so if you're in cover, you're kind of okay with it. But D6 + 3 auto hitting 2 damage gunshots is like pretty sweet. He can agents effect somebody else's thing. Oh, this is all stuff that we've seen before. And he has the built-in 9-inch Synapse Aura too. So you can have 2 9-inch Synapse Auras if you have Swarmlord plus the guy with the enhancement. This fucking cat, chat. I don't know if you can hear her on the microphone. Also, she got string on me. But she is going absolutely nuts right now. I don't know what to do about it. She's been weird today. The last 24 hours, she's been all super energetic. Does the one extra per turn not apply to those abilities? I don't know what that means. Chat. I don't know. I'm not sure what that question is. How long do you think it will take the people who work on TTS to update to the new edition, since Battlescribe isn't going to be updated? So the Battlescribe to TTS, like the Yellow Scribe transition, is going to be awkward, and that might take a while. But I know they already have a solution for scoring in place. So I believe you can play with the tactical objectives right now on TTS, which is rad. So huge shout out to the Battleforge mod team. They are nailing it right now. That's super duper cool. Did I give the cat catnip? No, I don't have any catnip for the kitty. Do we know if Epic Heroes can take enhancements? They cannot. No enhancements for Epic Heroes, chat. Bathing in command points if you buy a 6 to 18 guard? Probably not. I think, honestly, we'll talk about... we can actually... It's probably makes sense to jump into the units that the leaders can join after we talk about the leaders. But the Tyrant Guard are fairly difficult to kill. I think if you attach 3 Tyrant Guard to a Hive Tyrant, they're going to be pretty tanky. And now I can't find them. Is this a Tyrant Guard? It is. So the Tyrant Guard are T8 now. So, like, basically small arms they don't really care about. They did go down to a 3+ save, but, like, everyone's always in cover forever. So it's probably fine. You can even, like, put the Tyrant Guard behind a wall and put the Hive Tyrant out. If you're not worried about precision, which you're actually not, because the Tyrant Guard make you more resilient against precision. They give you a 5+ feel no pain. So you just have the Hive Tyrant like 2 inches out in front of 3 Tyrant Guard that are just like cowering behind a wall. And then the Tyrant Guard eat all the hits on a 2+ save, which is super tough. I guess it doesn't work against AP0 because the 3+ save is like mathematically the worst kind of save to have. So that is a little sad. But there are some ways to like buff them. You can give them stealth with Venomthropes and stuff. So that's 12 wounds at T8 that you have to chew through, and then you have to chew through 10 wounds, probably with like a 5+ or a 4+, depending on whether you're Swarmlord or not. I think that's tough enough to kill that most people would just shoot at the stuff shooting at them instead. So, all right. Okay, Hive Tyrants, you've convinced me. I'm kind of in on you guys. Plus they're all like a billion strength 9 twin linked attacks, so they just like reroll for days. They don't reroll their hit rolls anymore, which is sad. But they do get a bunch of wound rerolls, which is pretty sweet. I would like to have hit rerolls because all of their offensive abilities trigger off critical hits, but they don't have those, so it is what it is. The Broodlord. All right, so we're finding an outlet for adrenaline surge here. So the Broodlord, he's 8-inch move, T5, 4+ save, also 4+ invuln, can go to a 3+ save and cover. 6 wounds, 7 leadership, 1 OC, whatever. He's 5 attacks, hitting on 2 strength 6 AP2, 2 damage, devastating wounds to twin linked. Devastating wounds plus twin linked is cool, and then he grants devastating wounds to his whole unit. So he can attach to, I imagine, Genestealers. Genestealers, what a shocker. He can attach to Genestealers, and he gives his own unit -1 to be hit against an enemy that starts in engagement range. Oh, it's engagement range of the Broodlord, though. That's dumb. So he has to, like, lead the unit in order to use that. Poopy. But that makes, I mean, a Genestealer unit with the Broodlord attached is, like, tough to kill at that point, right? Because they're a 5+ invulnerable, 2 wounds, and then -1 to be hit. And then he gives them devastating wounds, and then for the 2 CP or maybe 0, if you have a Hive Tyrant next to you, you get devastating wounds on a 5+, which is awesome for this dude who's already rerolling. Also, Genestealers also reroll. Yeah, that unit's going to be nuts, actually. Because they reroll if they attack something on an objective, and they reroll their own ones as base. So they're 5 pluses, basically like rerolling everything. Hot diggity damn. All right. The problem is going to be delivering these units, I think, chat. That's where I'm foreseeing the issue, because we can talk about all these cool melee profiles all we want, but they're just an 8-inch scout move with an 8-inch move, and they have no movement buffs as far as I can tell in this whole faction. The Winged Tyranid Prime, which is now tragically, sadly, for everyone who has cool modded Tyranid Primes, it is the only Tyranid Prime in the index. So the Foot Tyranid Prime is just a part of the regular Tyranid Warrior unit now. And I think that was just because they like gave you the bits to build one in the Warrior kit, and they didn't want you building out a separate character from the Warrior kit. And I think that also happened to the Neurothrope too. I think it just gets added to a Zoanthrope unit, which sucks. I have a bunch of like cool Neurothropes I modded up, but sad times.
Love the streams. Keep up the good work. Go Nids.
Lee Woods, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate you. Oh, Adrenaline Surge is critical hits on a 5? Oh, damn. It's not critical wounds? Oh, it is critical hits. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't do anything with Genestealers. Dang. Well, just kidding. This stratagem sucks. I guess that is what gives you... That triggers off your Swarming Instincts and Hyperaggression. So it triggers off your Hyper Adaptations, but it actually... I don't know. All right. Well, this unit's not that great then. You're just riverboat gambling for 6s, I guess. They're probably okay against, like, hard targets. But only if they get the full rerolls. Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough, chat. That's a good call out. But that's unfortunate. Feels like we're still getting punished for 9th edition. Yeah, for sure. I mean, every faction's getting depowered a little bit, so, like, you can kind of expect it, but it doesn't... I think the problem with Tyranids thus far, and I mean, we're only like, we're 14 pages into a 90-page document, so we're like, what, not even 12% of the way there. It's tough to identify like a through line, right, with the faction. Like, I don't know what they're supposed to do yet, but we'll figure it out. Right now, it's put Hive Tyrants into Tyrant Guard units and then get free stratagems, right? That's where we're at. The Winged Tyranid Prime, we've already seen this profile. It gives you sustained hits 1. There's an open question that I think will be answered in the designer notes document. What happens when you get sustained hits 1 twice? So if you're in the Swarming Instinct Hyper Adaptation, and then you also have another sustained hits, do they both trigger? I hope they do. I hope they stack. That would be rad. But if they don't, this ability is kind of awkward. And then he himself fights on death on a 4+, and he can join Warriors and Gargoyles. What a weird unit this is. He's faster than all of the Warriors. Like, I don't know. Just kind of weird. He's faster than the Warriors, but he could join Gargoyles and gives them, like, exploding guns on their, like, exploding hits on their flesh borers. Like, okay. Cool. Thank you. All right. The Tervigon. Big T11. Let's go. No defensive technology whatsoever, though. No invulnerable save. It is a 2+ save, so that's good. But no invulnerable save and no leader or lone operative ability, so you're just going to get shot a bunch. But a T11, like, maybe the price is right where you just want him to be shot at. In your command phase, you get D3+3 Termagant models back to a Termagant unit, but you can't spawn new Termagant units, so they're just going to kill all the Termagants, and then you don't get any. Also, you can't double up on a single unit if you have multiple Tervigons. Not to mention the fact that the Termagant units are smaller than they were. So, like, I don't know. At least they don't have to stay. They can set up anywhere in coherency with the Termagants. They can actually, like, pulse out from the Termagants a little bit. You get like 3 extra inches on the front, rather than having to be set up wholly within 6 inches of the Tervigon like they used to. Yeah, but That is a dramatically smaller amount of regeneration than they had previously. They are... Let's see. They have a Strength 5 Stinger Salvo, just like they did last edition. If they have the Claws, they are Strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 1 damage. If they have the Talons, they're either 8 attacks at 2 damage, Strength 7, or 4 attacks at Strength 9, D6 damage, but no rerolls like to speak of, so it's not even that impressive of a melee profile. They grant Termagant units lethal hits. So that's, I mean, I guess like you could get lethal hits on a 5+ if you triggered to use the stratagem on those guys, but Termagants are terrible at melee. So you want that. Oh, it's only ranged weapons anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So you're just shooting people with Termagants. I don't know. Tervigon seems like kind of a miss, to be honest. The Termagant unit itself is kind of garbo. Now, Old One Eye, I really want to talk about, because I haven't actually looked at the Carnifex datasheet, but let's just we'll rip this band-aid off real quick. Carnifexes are apparently a multi-model unit, chat. So the Screamer Killer, the big dude on the 100mm base, is not representative of a regular Carnifex. It's no longer a Screamer Killer Carnifex. It's a like separate bioform, I guess. So Carnifexes are apparently multi-model units that Old One Eye can just slot into, which is rad. He grants the entire unit rerolls to hit every time you make an attack. So it works for both shooting and melee, which is rad. He has a 5+ feel no pain and regenerates damage. He's T9 with a 2+ save, so he's like tough as hell to kill if you even get through a bunch of Carnifexes to get to him. So like already we're talking. And then he can either sweep 6 times at strength 14. Hey, there's a strength characteristic for you. Get wrecked, stupid Hive Tyrants. Old One Eye's here to play. Strength 14, AP 3, D6 plus 1 damage, or 12 at strength 6, AP 1 damage. And then again, as long as he's got a single Carnifex with him, he's swinging. He's rerolling that hit roll too. So weapon scale 3 isn't even that bad. Yeah, this Old One Eye looks freaking sick. All right, let's talk about Carnifexes. I haven't read them at all, so I have to go scroll through and find them so that we can address Old One Eye in true context. Where are you at, Carnifexes? I think this is it. Hey, we found it. All right. So it's up to 2 Carnifexes. I'm going to be honest, that was less than I expected, but 2 plus Old One Eye is a lot. That's 27 T9, 2+ save wounds to chew through, I assume. Yep. Same profiles as they always had. And then they all get stuff. Okay, cool. They're still like build a bug, basically. They don't have the same level of upgrades, but it is what it is. Looks like their ballistic scale and weapon scale sucks, but I think the intention is that you attach Old One Eye to them and you take 3 of them in a unit. I don't think you're really supposed to be just shooting normally with these guys. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot after it's shot, if any models from this unit lost 1 or more wounds as a result of the attacks, it can make a blistering assault move. Roll 1d6, add 2 to the result. If you to do so, roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result. Just say say roll d6 plus 2. Okay, anyway. Each model in the unit can be moved a distance in inches up to the result, but must finish that move as close as possible to the enemy unit. When doing so, these models can be moved within engagement range. Fuck yeah, dude. So they're just Corn Berserkers now, I guess. They're T9 Corn Berserkers. Let's go. Yeah, Carnifexes look rad, chat. You see, that looks amazing. So that's how we get our threat range. We just put 3 Carnifexes in front of our opponent and make them shoot at them. Nailed it. No notes. It's perfect. All right. Their weapons look like they're all singletons, so they no longer get like the double. Like, it's not double Death Spitters. None of them are twin linked, which is weird. But they can still get the 24 shot like DAC effects. These are all just 8th edition profiles. If you just pull out your 8th edition codexes, they're all identical, basically. You can take the heavy venom cannon, you can take spine. Banks, crushing claws, strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 1 damage, and or scything talons. Strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. Jeebus. Okay. Unfortunately, everything hits on 4s, but they can all reroll if Old One Eye's there. Can Old One Eye blistering advance with them? Yes. Yeah, when you're attached to... So, to my reading anyway, and an FAQ could change this. When a unit is attached, when a character is attached to a bodyguard unit, they are considered to be the same unit for all rules purposes. So, if an ability triggers that allows the unit to do something, like the Blistering Assault, then the character would also, as part of the unit, get to act. If you have any abilities that... like specify specific models, it doesn't work like that, but because this just checks the entire unit after enemies make their attacks and then makes the entire unit do a thing, it will also affect the character. Basically, the Carnifexes like string him along. Old One Eye's like, oh, I'm so tired, guys, slow down. And the Carnifex is like, no, they're shooting at us. We have to get into melee. Stop. Good stuff. All right, Carnifexes. You guys seem rad. So I like that. I like a unit of Carnifexes. Plus, we can use stratagems on them with the good Hive Tyrant. We're kind of monster mashing it right now. I'm not the little bugs don't seem that great, but the monsters, they do seem good. Tyranid Warriors. So this is the ranged bioweapon one, and then if you take all melee weapons, they get a different special ability. The ranged ones are 5 attacks at AP 1 damage in melee. Not that great. They're all basically the same. Yeah, I don't know. All the weapons are kind of whatever. Their ballistic skill 4, weapon skill 3. They can shoot and charge when they fall back, but like all their guns kind of suck, so I don't know if you're really that worried about it.
You can only take 2 Carnifexes max.
Grim Dankness. Thanks for the super chat. You can take 2 Carnifexes max, but you can attach Old One Eye to the unit, so you can have a unit of 3. 1 unit of 3, because he's an epic hero, so you can't take him more than once. So the melee Tyranid Warriors, I think, are a little bit more interesting. They're an extra AP in melee, I guess because they're supposed to have bone swords, but they're only 1 damage. Strength 5, 1 damage. Oh, they're twin linked. All right. Okay. You're kind of winning me over on the melee guys. So at least they reroll everything at strength 5. AP 2, 1 damage, and then at the start of the fight phase, they can either reroll their saving throws or reroll hit rolls of 1. Both of which are okay, but it's only a 4+ save, so 4+ save rerolling 1s is not that exciting. Unless your opponent is like AP 0. Moving on. Termagaunts, we've seen endlessly. We don't have to talk about Termagaunts anymore, I don't think, right, everybody? If you do take Termagaunts, I'm kind of in on the Spine Fist profile, because it's 2-shot twin linked, which is pretty good. It's like a lot of rerolls and stuff. There are no points costs, chat. Points costs are next week. So the way it works for 10th edition, just to elucidate people, all of the rules are contained within indexes, but indexes and codex releases will not have points in them. Points are entirely digital now. So they're going to go through points every quarter. So points are going to update constantly, basically, to continuously balance the game. So there will be, as the index files come out, we have Tyranids and Space Marines this week, and then Xenos and Chaos and Imperium, I think, come out over the course of the next week. Points are coming out on, I believe, the 16th. So next Friday is when we'll have we'll know exactly what the points costs are. So Hormagaunts are, well, we finally found a fast unit. They can advance and charge. We got our Onslaught back, everybody. Let's go. Move 10, but otherwise are kind of not great. I guess they are very good at taking objectives. Their move 10, advance and charge OC2 So these are the objective grabby dudes. And then they're 3 attacks each, so kind of a high attack volume. They don't have any rerolls, but you can buff their attacks. And I don't really know if they're killing anyone, but they are going to jump on your objective. And then you can use like Overrun to like consolidate all over the place and grab their objectives with OC2. That's probably fine. I don't know if it's good, but it's something at least. Is Gansman going to be bad? I don't know if I can say for sure. It doesn't seem that great because they don't really do any damage, but it could be. The math could be better than I'm giving it credit for. The like 5+ critical hit into lethal hits on vehicles or something could just like overwhelm them. And these guys are AP1 at least, right? Yeah. So at least they force vehicles onto like a 3+ or a 4+. Big benefit of melee is it does ignore cover, so that's kind of nice. There's no more heavy cover in the game. Gargoyles. Gargoyles just are assault weapons. I guess Termagants are also assault weapons unless they take Devours, which is weird because Devours are also assault. So Gargoyles are probably your premier like objective caddies. After the Gargoyle unit has shot, if it's not within engagement range, it can make a normal move up to 6. Oh shit. This unit rocks. Gargoyles are sweet, chat. So they can contribute while holding like backline objectives. They're high OC, super fast movement, and have assault weapons, so they can advance and perform actions. Plus they deep strike. Okay, well, we're just like windmill slamming 2 units of Gargoyles in our list. Also, who needs like dumbass Hormagaunts? They're like, oh, I'm gonna advance and charge on your objective and then let you fight me. And the Gargoyles are like, move or advance 18, shoot, move 6 more, jump on your objective. Yeah, all right. In on Gargoyles, let's go. This unit looks nuts. How come I keep seeing new random abilities on this card? Did I miss some on the other ones? No? Guys, other Gant units, where are your cool special abilities? You forgot them. You left them at home. The Gargoyles took them all. Plus, you can attach a winged Tyranid Prime if you wanted to for some reason. All right, Gargoyles. Solid. The Toxicrene. Let's get to some big monsters now, everybody. There is no battle line, chat. No battle line at all in the Codex. Tyranids do not get battle line units. They don't deserve it because of all the naughty things they've done. It's in fact the only faction, at least based on our arithmetic on Tuesday. It's the only faction that does not have any battle line in it, which is kind of funky. So if you have more than 60 Termagants, throw out those extra ones. You can't use them. The Toxicrene, it's all anti-infantry 2+, which is okay. 2d6, it's 2d6. Oh, 2d6 ranged attacks, 12 in melee. The Gaunts have battle line? Oh. Did they have battle line last week? Hold up, chat. 1 sec. They didn't have battle line on Tuesday. I can tell you that because it wasn't in the website. And I don't believe that the Termagant unit had battle line that we saw previously, right? Now I can't find their card. Dang. When they like originally spoiled the Gargoyle, did it have battle line on it? That's weird. Why would they just like not have it and then suddenly put it on them? I don't know. I guess that that website keyword list is a little bit borked, huh? I can't find it. I'm not gonna keep digging for it. Bizarre. The box sheet had no battle line? Yeah, what was it? So there was the one that they previewed like ages and ages ago. It was my understanding that one did not list battle line either. Maybe it was the one that didn't have that had Ripper Swarms in it or something. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That didn't have it on it. Well, I guess you could take more than 3 units of Gants if you wanted to, for whatever reason. I don't know, chat. Gargoyles battle line? Maybe. I have a sneaking suspicion these bottles are going to be expensive enough that you don't actually want to take more than 3 units. I wasn't really like ever that worried about Tyranids having battle line because I don't like Tyranids are never a faction that you spammed 1 unit in, but it is what it is. Combat Patrol does have battle line, chat. It gives you obsec if you're battle line in Combat Patrol. It has like its own special thing. The one on Tuesday did not have battle line? That's what I thought. That's what I thought, chat. I could have sworn that the datasheet didn't have battle line. Well, that's what I get for, I guess, reading the datasheet and then not rereading it again. A datasheet that I've already read like 20 times. Fuck me, I guess. The Neurotyrant we've already seen. I talked about this in a bunch of times. They seem great. They give Synapse 12 inches away. And it persists until your next command phase, so like you can lock in Synapse and then use Stratagems on them, which seems awesome. That's really good for Stratagems and stuff. Lictors look absolutely rockin'. These guys are very cool. GW said the Leviathan and Combat Patrol are standalone datasheets. The Leviathan datasheets are just different. Really? That's weird. I know the ones like in the box, they give you the little tiny profile card, and those are like way different. Those are just like made up numbers. We were talking about those in the Discord the other day. If you open the instruction sheet and they give you like a statistical reference, those just have no relation to any of the other game formats. It's super bizarre. I didn't know if Leviathan actually had datasheets in it though. Besides those, I know those were just totally weird. Anyway, let's move on. This is not a particularly useful conversation. The Neurotyrant battle line. The Lictor looks sweet. It gets Infiltrators and Lone Operative. I didn't even notice it got Lone Operative, honestly, chat. I was just mostly excited about Infiltrator Fight First because this combination of abilities is sweet. But it's Fight First, so it always swings in melee, or it always has the opportunity to swing in melee. In your opponent's turn. It's infiltrating, so it starts up 9 inches outside of your opponent's deployment zone. Lone Operative, so it can't be shot outside 12. But even if they are within 12, it's stealth. And it regenerates you CP if it kills characters. Which it won't, let's be real. But it could, and that would be cute. But you probably have Swarmlord, who's going to get you a CP anyway, so you can't regenerate. So that ability is basically blank. This ability confuses me a little bit. You can target one model with Pheromone Trail once per battle round with Rapid Ingress for 0 CP, which allows them, I think the only interaction is that it allows them to Strategic Reserve in your opponent's turn, which I guess is good. But I think you like kind of want these to infiltrate screen. So I'm not actually that excited about it. But the combination of Infiltrator, Lone Operative is like nutso. They lets you like screen turn 1 deep strikes, but you don't, like, the downside of Genestealers and the other forward deployers is that you screen and then you prevent the turn 1 deep strike, so they don't deep strike, but then they just shoot you with a single gun and you die. But the Lictor's like, I'm going to screen this, like, front corner or whatever. You're in a quarter deployment. You're like, oh, here's the, what am I drawing here? Here's the table. You're in the corner deployment, which is like this, right? You know, it's like the Overrun or Death and Zeal. Conversion Death and Zeal, and the Lictor's just like, I screen out the turn 1 deep strike here, and your opponent's like, well, I can't shoot that, so I guess it just lives there and holds an objective for the entire game. That's so good. That combination of abilities is very good, and even if they get there with their own forward deployer, the Lictor wins like every fight against every other forward deployer in the game. Because it fights first as like strike 7 AP 2 damage. So it kills like 3 infiltrators and then they don't kill it back. It kills like 4 commandos. It kills like most of a striking scorpion unit. This guy rocks. Absolutely rocks. I hope they're not like 125 points. I hope they're sub 100 at least. Deathleaper has all the same abilities, but also trades the Pheromone Trail For a better invulnerable save, the base Lictor is only a 5+. They also have T6 6 wounds. What the fuck? Okay. You get a better invulnerable save, and you force battle shock tests in your opponent's battle shock phase. I guess if they've lost anything. So this is another thing that needs a clarification. This is an identical ability to the Chaos Knights one, and it's unclear whether or not it stacks with normal battle shock. So it could be that Deathleaper can run up to within 6 inches of an enemy unit. You shoot that enemy unit for, I don't know, a couple casualties. You get it below half strength. You force a command check for Shadow in the Warp at -2. Force a command check for being below starting strength, and then force a command check for being below half strength. I don't know, or a battle shock test, I should say. I don't know if that's actually how it works, but it might be. And if it is, that's actually rad. So Deathleaper seems sweet, but again, I think these units, the price is right, because they're very much utility units. Their damage output is good, but you're not really bringing them as much for the damage. You're mostly bringing them for the utility, for all the special abilities. But this combination of special abilities is fucking nutso. These units look absolutely sick. It's not very good versus Terminators. I mean, it's fine against Terminators, honestly. They also have precision, which is cute. They can just like scalpel out a guard character and then get you a command point. That's kind of fun. But they'll kill a Terminator like pretty consistently, which is kind of all you really want them to. For the most part, like if your opponent's charging them with a Terminator and you get one on their turn like for free, that's kind of just worth the price of admission. Maleceptor, T11, 3+ armor, 4+ invuln. Love it. It has an 18-inch range gun, blast psychic, strength 10, EP2, 3 damage. And while an enemy unit is within 6 inches, you get -1 to hit. And if it's below half strength, -1 to wound. Kind of get you gotta get the Maleceptor up in there. That's weird. That's a strange ability for the Maleceptor to have. It's very incongruous with what it's done. But its gun's okay, I guess. I imagine this thing will be like mad expensive, and I don't know. That's a good gun, but I don't know if it's a great gun at 18-inch range. What is great though is these guys. Pyrovores are back in business, chat. So. They're T6, 4 wounds, 3+ armor. All good numbers. Love that for them. You can take them in units of up to 3. So still 1 to 3, so you can take them in singletons. They shoot D6 +1, strength 6, AP1, ignore cover, torrent, twin linked. So they reroll wounds against everything with their flamethrower. And then if they hit you with their flamethrower, you don't have to wound, you just have to hit. You remove cover from them for the remainder of the shooting phase. So these little Pyrovores, they don't have assault weapons, but I guess you can onslaught them to advance and shoot their flamer, and then you can remove cover from somebody and then just like pound them with all the big guns. So that alone is just like sweet. And then also just units being that you can take in singletons is great. Plus they just vaporize infantry. Strength 6 AP1 ignore cover, strength 6 rerolling is like insane. You wound most infantry on 3s rerolling. And you mooned a lot of them on 2s rerolling, which is basically, you're just playing Death Guard at that point. But it's AP1 ignore cover, chat. So it's like actually AP2, really. When you think about it. Because most of the time things are going to be in cover. So AP1 ignore cover is actually getting a lot better than you expect it to be, for sure. Are they battle line? Yeah. We'll check every single data sheet. We'll check down here just in case. Just in case I didn't read the keywords and I just talk out of my ass for like 10 consecutive minutes about how they're not battle line. These guys look great, chat. I'm so sold on Pyrovores. It's interesting because it seems like all of the core units are like kind of garbo. But the utility units in this faction are like nuts so insane. Haruspex. Have they finally made the Haruspex worth it? Let's find out. It has a precision D6 plus 1 damage weapon, but it's only strength 6. I guess it's supposed to eat characters out of units, which is it's a cool idea. I like the idea. It seems okay though. It's 14 strength 7 AP 1 2 damage attacks and 4 strength 14 AP 2 D6 plus 1 damage attacks. Not or, and. So it attacks 18 times. Calm down, Haruspex. We need you. We're going to need you to take a chill pill, my guy. Oh my god. If one or more enemy units are destroyed by its attacks, each enemy unit within 6 inches must take a battle shock chest. I still don't know how you deliver these things into melee. Especially, it's a 3+ save now. It's actually, T11's better than it was, but 3+ save is much worse than a 2+ save. Especially because it doesn't benefit from cover against AP1. So, like, mass AP1's actually good against it. Or AP0, excuse me. So, mass AP0 is actually good against it. But this this thing just attacks so many times. I wish it had rerolls somewhere. Somebody give it rerolls. My kingdom for rerolls to wound. My god. Is T11 worse? No, T11 is better than Toughness 8. I guess it's like, I mean, it's tough to quantify, I guess. I think like toughness like 10.5 is probably the equivalent of toughness 8. It still gets wounded by las cannons on 3s, but Melta's wounded on 5s now. And battle cannons wounded on 5s, yeah. So it's like toughness 8.5 if we were to compare it to 9th edition. Like half of the strength 8 weapons in the game now wounded on 4s and half of them wounded on 5s. Battle cannons and plasma wins this thing on 5s now, which is kind of nuts. Yeah, he's not that worried about Melta. Plus, like, he's realistically still a 2+ save a lot of times because he's mostly going to be in cover. Especially, it is kind of funny, but like models like the Toxicrene and the Haruspex are actually kind of better in 10th edition because of the broken ass cover rules. Because cover is determined via true line of sight. If you have a model with a lot of dangly bits, all you have to do is stick one of them behind a wall, and suddenly your whole model gets cover. So if you have the Haruspex just like facing sideways the whole time, and its big long tongue snakes around a wall, it gets cover permanently. It's really stupid. It has to be it has to be like a portion that would be in line of sight of your target. So you have to be kind of like adjacent to the wall and getting cover from it, but you can finagle it so you can get it. Plus, also, you can take these guys, and then they just give it to you. Pretty good. They just give within 6 inches cover and stealth. And otherwise, I guess their base strength is way worse than it was, and they don't have an EP value, but they're still anti-infantry too. They seem basically the same. They went down to 3 wounds rather than 4, which kind of makes sense. They were weirdly hard to kill in 9th edition. Movement 8 is nuts. Movement 8 is very bad. This faction doesn't advance in charge anymore, so movement 8 like on a monster is actually extremely difficult to deliver. Especially, yeah, I don't really know how you get this guy into melee, but he is tough to kill, so maybe he just takes forever. It might be that like maybe we'll have to see points, honestly. Well, maybe it's the break point is such that like just a wall of T11 monsters like slowly trudging their way across the table is just unbeatable for a lot of armies. It could just be the stat check. The stat check of the century. Von Ryan Sleepers, we've already seen. They can heroically intervene for free, and they have most of the Lictor keywords, but they're not lone operatives, so that's sad. And they suck in melee in the comparison. Lictors are way better. But I guess you get 3 of these guys, probably for the cost of 1 Lictor, so they attack more times. Stealth is, yeah, -1 to be hit, chat. From ranged attack specifically. Doesn't work on melee, only ranged. Only guns. Venomthropes exclude monsters with their stealth. So any Tyranid unit grants cover. Oh, they grant cover to any Tyranid unit. I should do my illustrator. So it's just a friendly Tyranid unit gets benefit of cover. Tyranid unit excluding monsters gets stealth. So they don't give the big stuff -1 to be hit, but they do give it +1 save. And that also means that you don't have to like finagle your weird tail around a building or whatever. They do benefit your monsters, chat. They just don't benefit with them with both halves of their ability. If Von Ryan's Leapers cost 20, if Von Ryan's Leapers cost 20 points a model, they are fucking nuts. You just windmill slam like 18 Von Ryan's Leapers on the table and just like, go! Go, my horde of like awkward Terminator equivalents that fight first and have 5 attacks apiece. Like, There's no way these are less than 35 points a model. No chance. Neurogaunts, we've talked about. I'm not going to cover the Leviathan stuff quite as much. Zoanthropes. I'm excited to see Zoanthropes. I haven't seen them before. Sad about this, though. All my custom Neurothropes I've built and painted. Oh. My poor characters from editions past. I have all my Neurothropes and all my winged Hive Tyrants. I just have to throw into the garbage now. Poor guys. But I guess they just have guns. Right? Yeah, alright. So they just... Every model is equipped with a big fuck-off gun. So that's good. They shoot... So they fire per model, so it's not like a big concentrated burst for the whole unit, which is great. So it's either a unit of 3d3 strength 7, AP 2 d3 damage, or 3 strength 12, AP 3 d6 +1. So just a las cannon with lethal hits, I guess, which you probably already have, to be fair, so less exciting. When an enemy unit within 6 inches each time it fills a battle shock chest, it suffers D3 mortal wounds, and you regain D3 mortal wounds. That is a corner case and a half, chat. Oof. And you grant a 6+ invulnerable save. Oh. Alright, well. That makes I guess that helps, like, the horde mode. I don't know if a 6+ invulnerable save is that helpful for most of this army. It definitely doesn't help, like, anything with a 3+ or better save is most likely going to be on a base 3+ armor. There's very few AP4 ranged weapons in the game. Outside Meltas, I guess. And a lot of the other stuff has invulnerable saves built in. So I guess it's just, like, strictly for Gantz, basically, right? Yeah, it's alright. Seems okay. Did they get rid of the Flyrant? Yeah, it has a data sheet, but it's like really bad. That's the kicker. It technically exists, but I don't know if I would play it. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's okay if you just like have 3 of them and they're just hiding behind all your Haruspexes or whatever, but I struggle to imagine a universe in which those tyrants aren't just foot tyrants that are like harder to kill and also have a gun. It's kind of like how they are right now in 9th edition, where you're like, well, I can't overrun these guys. So as soon as they commit, they just immediately die. So like, I might as well take the foot guy that's like cheaper and also has like a big cool gun and is harder to kill and has cool synergies with Tyrant Guard. Maybe, I don't know. If you monster mash and you're like a threat overload list and the wing type tyrants aren't too expensive, I could see them. But if they're the same cost as they are right now, they're just like unplayable. Oh yeah, Zoanthropes back down to 3 wounds with a 4+ invuln. That's not too surprising, honestly. I don't think, like, this is never a unit that survives too long once they're committed. They get a round of las cannon shooting into you, and then you kill them. I don't know if I'm that excited about Zoanthropes, honestly. The range profile is like fine. It's kind of whatever. Genestealers, we've seen these guys already. They're 4 attacks each, hit on 2s. And they reroll wounds of 1 and then full reroll wounds if they are in on an objective, or if the target's on an objective. And then you can give them devastating wounds with the cool Broodlord, but yeah. I guess I think I'm less excited about Genestealers now that I've seen all these Lictors. The real question is going to be whether or not Genestealers are cheaper than, like, if 5 Genestealers versus 1 Lictor, what's the cutoff there? Because there's no way I'm taking 5 Genestealers over a Lictor if they're even close to the same points value. Those Lictors are nuts, so... Raveners. At the end of your opponent's turn, if the unit's not within an engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, you can place it into strategic reserves. Hot diggity damn. They attack 7 times. They're twin-linked. Eat your hearts out, melee warriors. Get wrecked, my dudes. Are you kidding me? It's like the same profile, but they have... I guess they're AP1 instead of AP2, but they have 2 more attacks, and they can't reroll their hit rolls. And then they also have a gun. It's just a regular gun. All right. Just a range 12, 3-shot, hitting on 4s, strength 4. It's not super useful, but it is what it is. Well, we were looking for Overrun, and we found it, and it's on Raveners. Gonna have to see the points value for these friendos. They lost their -1 to be hit in melee, and they lost their 4th wound. So they're much harder, much easier to kill than they were. But maybe that's fine. If they're just a unit that like runs out and kills an enemy unit and then goes into reserve, that seems great. 7 attacks each with twin linked. Genestealers within Broodlord do 14 mortals. Is that like the full brick of them? I guess like I don't know what the math is. I guess we could find out, right? We could just find out what the math on 6s is. If we like math hammer it. If we get 20 base Genestealers. I don't care about AP or anything. If we get 20 base Genestealers, full rerolling their wound rolls, they get 5 mortals. So if you have a full unit of 10, should I assume it's still 10? Yeah, you get like 10 mortals, which is pretty good. But you have to deliver 10 Genestealers, and these are probably like 18 points apiece. So with a Broodlord, you're like probably getting close to 250, 300, and then it's like this big move 8, like 88 unit that there's no movement, there's no threat range buffs. Plus you also have to get them all in base to base contact to attack. So I think a big unit of like 11 models is gonna be tough to. It's a tough sell. They definitely can do a lot of damage. But I think your opponent kind of has to let you do it, honestly. And not like disrupt them at all. It's very, very signposted game plan. Ripper Swarms, we saw these guys. They're kind of do nothings. The Parasite of Mortrex. He's back. He's got 1 anti-infantry, 3+ 3 damage AP2 ovipositor. Otherwise, he's AP1 hitting on 2s in melee. Each time an infantry model is destroyed, you get D3 Ripper Swarms. And at the start of the fight phase, and he forces a battle shock check on somebody. Seems like this guy's a little random. He is lone operative and stealth though, which is kind of cute. But he's I don't know. You have to, in order to, I think that like what it wants to do is like have something on an objective and then clip somebody with the ovipositor, drop the Rippers in engagement, and drop their OC, so that you flip the objective. But like, or you battle shock them. So it has like, I guess 2 chances to flip the objective, but it's a lot of rolling involved. I don't know. big Mawloc. Yeah, the parasites have never been exclusive. In 9th edition, you could take as many parasites of Mortrex as you wanted, up to 3, obviously, but you never did because there was never really a reason to take more than 1. Mawloc has 16 attacks, strength 8, AP 2, 1 damage. It's just gonna tickle everybody to death. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Anti-infantry 4, devastating wounds, extra attack on his jaw. Yikes. Just eats 3 guys. Each time he is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike, well, 1d6 for each enemy within 12. I guess it is just regular Deep Strike now. It's not the, like 1 inch away. On a 2 to 4, it takes D3 mortal wounds. On a 5, it takes 3 and takes a battle shock. It is each enemy in it, which is cool. But the number of times that you hit more than 2 units with that is a little bit probably going to be tough if they're screening at all. And then you're just kind of stuck. You're maybe making like a 10-inch charge. T10, 14 wounds is pretty decent. Trygon also T10. When he's set up using Deep Strike, he can be set up on the battlefield as anywhere more than 3 inches from enemy units. But he's not eligible to declare a charge. Oh. Okay. Is the Trygon Prime still here? Is the Trygon Prime gone? No! Trygon Prime, no! Why? What have you done? That was a very confusing profile. It was weird that there was a character Trygon randomly. That's sad. I lost my place on my scroll wheel. Yeah, just Mawloc and Trygon. Ripperonis. It's okay in melee. Strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. That's fine. It's just it's like a basically Swarmlord. Sustained hits 2, so it is a Tesla. Strength 5. It's just a Tesla gun, basically. Yeah, I don't know. The ability, I guess it's like OC4, so you can steal objectives from people, but OC4 isn't enough to take it away from like 2 OC2 models, which is like what most of the normal infantry in the game are. Not really sure what the purpose of this guy is. Like, why is he deep striking 3 inches away from you? What does he do? He doesn't bring anybody with him like he used to. He just menaces. Rawr. I guess you could rapid ingress him closer than 9, but like out of line of sight, and then he just like 10-inch moves around a wall or whatever. So that's probably what you're trying to do. You're trying to rapid ingress him in like awkward places. You could like rapid ingress him like in the back line of your opponent's army where they can only be like, you could shoot him with like 5 battle sisters or something. Oh, okay. No, that's actually what you do. Yeah, no, that's actually what you do. That's the technology right there. Is you bring him in like top of 2, like end of your opponent's movement phase. Like, you know, there's always like in every mission, right? Like everybody like moves their stuff out, and there's like some ruin in the back. There's like some like big L's, and there's like 5 models back here, and then all their guns are like pointed this way. And you just have this like Trygon randomly appear right here, and then like walk into their back line on turn 2. That's actually probably the game plan. You could put him in front of like somebody's army. Just like, here's a Trygon. Would you like to kill it? And they're like, I guess so. Sure. I'll do my best. We got the Spores. Enemy units cannot start or end an advance move within 6 inches. Okay. An advance move. All right. When they move within 3, roll a d6. On a 2 to 5, you take d3 mortals. On a 6, you take d6. Then it's dead. I like the wording of this. Is it cleaned up a little bit, and you can take up to 2. They're equipped with nothing. You get nothing. And then these guys are the same. This is basically just the same rule that they had previously, but they also get this bio minefield thing. Start or end in advance within 6. I guess it stops people from like yeeting onto your objectives, right? You can just have one of these dudes just standing on your objective and enemies can't advance onto it. It's kind of cute. Trygon to block line of sight to one of your other units. Have you seen a Trygon? Those things do not block line of sight. They are skinny. They are. That is an incredibly skinny model. That's not going to stop anybody from seeing you. An Exocrine. In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Tyranid model makes an attack that targets that unit, reroll hit rolls of 1. Okay. It's only toughness 10, though. It's kind of squishy. He's a little squishy guy. D6 plus 3. Ooh. Strength 8, AP 3, 3 damage. So basically just way worse than he was. You gonna hang out here, kitty? No? Yeah, strength 8 is not great. You're slipping. You're gonna fall down. Yeah, there you go. You wanna hang out? That reroll hit rolls of 1 is pretty good. But if this is like a 200-point monster that's just a support at piece for the rest of your army, like this is not very good. I hope it's cheap. Show me the points. Pyrovores. We got our indirect fire. Only hitting on 4s, but they are heavy. Devastating wounds. You can add a new Spore Mine unit to your army and set up anywhere on the battlefield within 48, but more than 9 inches away from enemy units, with 1 model for each battle unit. Yay! No longer D3 models randomly. That's cool. I think that's probably like wait on a designer's note for this one, so because I don't know if they would add a section for models being added to your army. It definitely feels like a depowered version of the other one. That's what the 9th edition one should have done. What this one does for sure. The fact that it allows you to spawn like 9 Spore Mines from a unit of 3 Pyrovores was ludicrous. It should always have been just 1. But I guess like I mean that also. You can then, like, mine the middle of the table, and you can make it so they can't advance onto your, like, the center objective and stuff. Which is kind of cute. Interesting. The gun profile is not that exciting, though. D3 shot, strength 6, AP1. You don't have, like, an innate a way to ignore cover, so the AP1 just gets eaten by cover, and you're just hoping for devastating wounds. But you don't have any way to buff the devastating wounds, so you're just like, riverboat gamble for some 6s. We talked about Carnifexes. I'm all in on Carnifexes. I bet the heavy Venom Cannon Carnifex unit rocks. Just like 2 Carnifexes Venom Cannons getting rerolls from old One Eye with their best buddy. Hanging out with them. The Screamer Killer, which is not a Carnifex, as we've learned. Hive Guard. I did see people talking about these guys. Their shock cannon is anti-vehicle 2+. Impaler cannon. Weird. What a wild profile for this thing. So they're T7. They're a 3+ save, so they're very good in the indirect fire battle because they go to a 2 and cover. As long as you're not AP0 or ignore cover, obviously. Each time you target this unit with the Fire Overwatch stratagem while resolving the stratagem, hits are scored on unmodified hit rolls of 5, or 4+ if they're in range of an objective marker. So they have the heavy weapon team rule, but then the Impaler Cannon's like sick against infantry. It's 4 shots hitting on 4s, heavy indirect fire. So they actually like get an they hit better if they overwatch basically. So a unit of 3 just shoots 12 times on 4, so it converts 6 strength 5 AP1s into a unit on average. I guess that's not that good. The shock cannon profile is okay though, but it's only AP1. Yeah. If these guys are cheap, they're probably great, but if they maintain like the 45 to 50 point value, probably no good. They definitely, it's an interesting profile. It's much more interesting than the 9th edition was for sure. They're not like just this unplayable garbage fire of a unit. You could definitely see uses for them. Like just keeping 3 of them and they're just on your backline objective, and your opponent has infiltrators coming in, because like they come in with 5 like Jamooks to come do secondaries, and you just shoot them to death with the Hive Guard unit on their turn for free because you have a Hive Tyrant. Like that's like we're talking now. That's good stuff. Or like the big shock cannon unit drops down and 2+ is a vehicle to death, but only AP1. I don't think you're really converting that much, honestly. Tyrannofex. Toughness 12. Let's go. 16 wounds. The acid spray is Torrent, not ignore cover, but it's base AP2, which is better. Subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of the attack, probably to a minimum of 1, but we have no idea. 2 damage, D6 plus 6 auto hits. It's got the Stinger Salvo, just like it did last edition. The Fleshborer Hive is twin linked, strength 5, sustain 1. Twin linked. Ooh. But AP 0 though. And only a 24-inch range, so you're never getting the heavy benefit on it. And then the Rupture Cannon that we've seen. Yeah. So the weird thing, the annoying thing about the Tyrannofex is that its profiles are always just so annoying. Like the Fleshborer Hive seems great, but its range seems tough to actually get like shots without remaining stationary on. The Rupture Cannon is just spiky as hell. 2 shots with no rerolls into a 2d6 damage roll. You're just like, ooh. I wish I could give this thing perfectly adapted. That'd be nice. I don't know, man. They're tanky. That's cute. They're tankier than the Tervigon. But like, do they do anything? I think like the dice decide probably. You can reroll damage, yeah, for a command point. But importantly, and this is something you should keep in mind, if you use the free stratagem off the Hive Tyrant, you can't use it on CP reroll, because CP reroll doesn't choose a target. So you have to target a unit within 12 inches of the Hive Tyrant, and CP reroll like targets the dice basically instead of the unit. So you don't get free CP rerolls with the free any of the free stratagem abilities. So don't let your opponents do that to you, and you can't do it yourself. Be careful. You do the Exocrine, then the Rupture Cannon? Yeah, we'll just dump like 500 points with this combo to get reroll ones on our Tyrannofex. Let's go! Yeah, currently, rules is written, it's immune to damage 1. I have a sneaking suspicion that all reductions go to a minimum of 1, and they just didn't put it in the rulebook. But, I mean, we'll probably know, like, next week at some point. I wouldn't speculate too much on it. If it does reduce damage 1 to 0, then oh my god, it's nutso. But I would be surprised. I guess overwatching with the acid spray. Yeah, that's true. Anything with torrent on it is immediately much better than it looks like, right? So just like overwatching constantly with the acid spray is good. And you can overwatch for free. That is a freebie you can do. So that seems all right. Could you use CP reroll on a Battleshock unit? I believe so. Because I believe that Battleshock only checks targeting. That's probably worth double checking just for your for edification here. Because it could say effect. But I don't think it does. I think it just says you can't target, or its controlling player can't target it with stratagems. It's in the command phase. It's controlling player. Oh yeah, no, it does say use stratagems to effect. So I don't believe you can command point reroll a battle shocked unit, because that is affecting the unit. Effect is a weird term, but I think it's like the catch-all for target or do anything else sort of adjacent to. So I don't believe you can reroll on them. I think almost every army will have a big flamer unit that tries to overwatch every turn. Yeah, maybe. It's just the battle of like these big dumbass flamers. Just blasting each other. That sounds kind of fun, honestly. It does feel like the Infernus squad was made like with that in mind for sure. Yeah, the vehicles thing is real, chat. There's like no like the highest this is the highest value in the game in the codex, right? Is the Carnifexes gun is a strength 18, and that's the only thing. But like Carnifexes, like if they get there, Carnifexes will do work, but it seems tough. Your opponent kind of has to like let you, I think. I don't know. All right, let's move on. There's still more stuff to talk about. Tyrannocyte. What can it embark? 20 infantry or 1 monster with a wounds characteristic of 12 or less. Each infantry takes, with a wounds characteristic of more than 1, takes the space of 3 models. The model must start in reserve. Neither it nor any units embarked on it are counted towards any limits placed in the maximum number of reserve units you can start the battle with. This model can be set up in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of any mission rules. I hate that still exists. Just say that you can't deep strike on turn 1, and then just say that the drop pod ignores that. I don't know why it's not a core rule that you can't deep strike on turn 1, because nobody plays formats in which you can. I don't get it. But also, I hate turn 1 deep strike, so this is toxic and terrible. Fuck you, Tyrannocyte. And then you disembark and you're 9 inches away. Yeah, it just has drop pod assault. All its weapons are just a strength 5 AP 1/2 damage. Oh, you can't mount 5 venom cannons on it anymore? Sad. Garbage. Get it out of here. What are we putting in the Tyrannocyte, chat? Is it still Pyrovores? Is it always Pyrovores forever? I wish you could put Tyrannifexes in them. It's kind of annoying that you can't. I guess... Did they recreate the disembarking large models rule? Do you die if you disembark a monster from this thing? I bet you do. Oh, I don't see the large model disembarking thing. It's back, chat. The Tyrannocyte eats its contents again. Let's go. What is it embark that is like awkwardly 12 wounds? I guess like all the big stuff is like 16 wounds, right? So I don't think it can embark any of the oval bases. It can't embark Toxicrenes. Oh, maybe it just solved itself by having a transport capacity that's too small. Don't need a special rule if you just don't create a unit that's like capable of embarking. So it can carry 1 Carnifex? Okay, Tyrannocyte. Man, you suck. Fuck you, Tyrannocyte. I don't like you on principle. Pyrovores do seem sweet. It's too bad that you can't, like, rapid ingress this thing and then, like, disembark Pyrovores and then overwatch your opponent. I guess you can in the charge phase, right? That'd be kind of cute. But then you'd get shot at. Yeah, it's probably just Pyrovores, I guess, huh? What else do we have that's good at shooting? Like, Hive Guard? You carry 6 Hive Guard with shot cannons? That's alright. It's only 12 shots, though. Like, maximum it's 36 damage, but your opponent saves in, like, 3s. So it's not even that much damage. Zoanthropes. Oh, it's like 6 Zoanthropes, chat, right? You drop 6 Zoanthropes that just, like, vaporize somebody with 6 lance cannons. Pew, 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 pew. Oh, the Screamer Killer. Yes. Nom 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 nom. There's all these little rules interactions I want to make videos about, chat, but I want to wait until the designer commentary and document comes out Because I don't want to be like that guy. I don't know. But everyone complains when I make rules videos talking about all the silly stuff that like Games Workshop forgets to write about before they release their FAQs. But just release the FAQ. But it will eat a Screamer Killer. That's very funny, and I appreciate it. Good job, Tyranid. Actually, does it even eat the Screamer Killer? I think the game just blue screens. I think this has the same like time manipulation technology that the Necron Monolith had in 9th edition, where you could like use the stratagem on an illegal target and then just the game the game ended basically. The game continued to go like forever because you must disembark, right? Any units embarked must immediately disembark, but if you can't fit your whole base, then you can't disembark. So the game just freezes. I don't even think it does it. Yeah, it doesn't destroy them anymore. They just stay embarked, but they're not allowed to stay embarked. They must disembark. So you end up in a logic loop forever. Good job, Tyranid, with your weird like tesseract that you're holding in your tentacly fingers. Incredible. I love that. Does the benefits of cover work on towing models? If you can see their feet. If you can't see all of a model, then it gets cover. Basically, is the rule. If due to a ruin, if a ruin is blocking any part of a model, it gets cover. From you specifically. So if it's line of sight blocking a part of the model that you can't see, then it wouldn't do anything. But if you would have line of sight if it weren't for the ruin, then they get cover. Hive Crone. It's got an anti-fly 2+ melee weapon. Each time he attacks a flying target, get +1 to the hit roll. And it is a hover keyword. So it doesn't have like the old aerial predator rules, right? Like you the ability to like charge other flying units. That's weird. So you have to hover in order to use its melee attacks. Bizarre. It's got anti-vehicle 4+ devastating wounds, but only 4 shots. It's alright. Does it averages like 3 mortals, I guess. Plus it has a 2d6 flamer, which is good. And then a stinger salvo, which is whatever. Alright, Hive Crown. You're fine. Harpy has the venom cannons and stuff. Spore Mine says every time he ends a normal move, you can deal mortal wounds on 3+. So it probably does 4 when it bombs. Or it drops D3 Spore Mines. Okay. Show me the points for these guys. But they have the hover keyword, so these things are actually sweet. Because the hover keyword, you can choose to remove the aircraft keyword from them, so then they just operate like a normal monster, and they get line of sight blocked by buildings and stuff. So they just land on the ground, and then they like flop around for a bit. Which means that you can choose, if you need to reserve them, you just keep them in as aircraft mode. But if you don't want to, then you make them hover mode for the game, and then they floop-de-doop around. But they can't use their cool melee weapons if they are ever in aircraft mode, which is a little bit weird. The Spore Assist is here. No movement characteristic. Toughness 10 with a 3+ save. It can benefit from cover. So it's like it can be a 2+ save a lot. Yeah, the Venom Cannons suck now for sure. I think the Venom Cannon was too strong in 9th, but like they buffed it 3 separate avenues, right? They made it 3 shots, AP 3, 4 damage. And I think you could roll back any one of those and it would be fine. But rolling back all 3 makes them kind of shitty. But they are blast key. Like the new blast keyword's legitimately good for them, so You know, you win some, you lose some. You shoot 10 Terminators, you shoot D3 plus 2 times. It's actually pretty rad. Each time an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move within range of the weapon, so 24 inches. And then you can shoot them up to 4 times per phase. Huh. It's not that good of a gun, but it's something. And then it makes Muculid Spores within 18 inches of this model, 9 inches away from enemies. It's actually kind of good, honestly. It just gets its spore seeding back. It's not as good as spawning 1,000 spore mines, but making the single Muculid Spore is like realistically the same. Plus, the Muculid Spore has the interesting effect of automatically blowing up if you move on its objective. I guess you can't do that anymore if you can't stand on top of the objective marker, so it's a little bit tougher. But the ignore advance moves is kind of a big deal for those things. So if you can put the Spore Assist where you can just throw the Muculid Spore right in the middle of the table and prevent any advance moves, it's actually pretty sweet. And then you also get this like random gun that shoots a bunch of times. You could also Overwatch it, I think, too, right? Like, you could like 0 CP Overwatch it with your Hive Tyrant, so your opponent's like, I will move, and you're like, Hive Defense, Overwatch, shoot 10 times, blam blam. All right. It's cute. I wouldn't spend a CP on that, but I would spend a free strat if I had it. Psychophage, that's a Leviathan unit we talked about. Barbgaunts Leviathan unit that we talked about. So that's everything. We talked about the whole freaking codex, chat. All right. That was a little anticlimactic, I'm going to be honest. I was kind of hoping for something exciting at the end there, but yeah, I mean, points to be seen, but I think big winners, basic Carnifexes and old One Eye. Get wrecked, Screamer Killers, you kind of suck compared to the basic Carnifex that attacks like 6 times rather than 10, but is like dramatically more strength and damage. Strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 1. I guess it's only 4. But then but then their other attacks are like roughly equivalent at higher strength anyway. So yeah, there's 6 total attacks. I guess that's if they take Crushers. So they don't have guns then. We'll have to see points. Then we'll decide what kind of Carnifexes to build. Because I kind of do want to get Venom Cannons on the Carnifexes to get shooting phase rerolls. Plus, if you have... I guess you could also put Bioplasma on them, right? Yeah, so if that points value is also good, then you could shoot kind of a lot of times. You could shoot D3 1 damage plus D3 3 damage. Full rerolling. All your hit rolls. With potentially lethal hits on if you're shooting at a vehicle. Yeah, I think that the Trygon could be interesting for sure, chat. I think that the play pattern is supposed to be that you rapid ingress that guy on your opponent's turn. And I think if your opponent gives you a good spot to rapid ingress, the Trygon's actually sick. But if you don't have any good places to do it, then he like doesn't do anything. They have to rapid ingress into a point where you can get to them with the next, like on the subsequent movement phase, onto something that's relevant. And the Trygon also has to be enough, like cheap enough that you don't care if it dies immediately because it's going to charge into your opponent's army. I like the Haruspex. I want the Haruspex to be good because that profile is kind of nutty. Where's that guy at? 18 attacks is like sort of insano. But I think we'll have to play some games with it. I wonder if there's a list where you're like triple Haruspex, the big brick of 3 Carnifexes, and like 2 or 3 Hive Tyrants with a Tyrant Guard, and you're just wandering up the table with this big dumb like big idiot like promenade of like monstrosities, just hoping your opponent can't kill them all. That might be okay. Pity they didn't put a table of contents in. I don't know if they need one, honestly. The point of this PDF is for you to print your own cards. I don't think it's for it to really be a reference document, so I don't know if they wanted so much. Nine Pyrovores, 3 Spore Assists, and a gun line. Yeah, maybe? I don't know. Haruspex plus Psychophage, just to give it the 6-up damage ignore. Yeah, I don't hate that. You're probably like windmill slamming. They just shoot the Psychophage, right? Like that guy's like 10 times easier to kill than a Haruspex. Where's that motherfucker? He's like 4 less wounds and 2 less toughness. I guess he's +1, feel no pain. But you probably like windmill slam him and the Venomthropes. But if this dude's like 115 or something, and he's like this kind of annoying thing to kill that's like sort of difficult to kill, but not really, that your opponent just has to shoot at first, so they're not like chewing through a 6-up damage ignore the whole game, then it might be fine. Or they could just chew through the 6-up damage ignore the whole game and then deal with him later, because he doesn't do anything. He's not going to hurt anyone. He's like, he just sort of gloms on you. The Psychophage is the Inky of the 41st Millennium. He's just here. He's here to look cute, but he's not really like actually doing any damage. Where are Thornbacks at? I think they're just rolled into the Carnifex datasheet. They don't. There's no longer like the quadrant of Carnifexes where you have 4 separate datasheets for one unit. It's just one thing, which is good, honestly. But you can still take 10 of them because the Screamer Killers are separate. So if you consider a Screamer Killer a Carnifex, which at this point is dubious, then you can get 10, which is fine. Can I list the units that were removed? Probably. I might note this down just for my future reference, chat. That is a good question. What do we say? I'm going to go down the list on Wahapedia here. And I'm in bright mode. Terrible. An absolute monster I am. So the units that were removed from Tyranids. We have the Trygon Prime, the Tyranid Prime, and Neurothrope. Those ones I remember. And then the Thornbacks. Screamer Killers sort of like transitioned. What else are we missing? Broodlord we have. Hive Tyrant we have. Neurothrope, no. Old One Eye, yes. Tervigon, yes. Swarmlord, yes. Trygon Prime, no. Tyranid Prime, no. Winged Hive Tyrant, yes. Gargoyles, all these guys, yes. And the Tyranid Warriors got an extra one, so they should like remove one of the failures. Deathleaper is a yes. Oops. Genestealers is a yes. Haruspex, yes. Lictor, Maleceptor, Pyrovores, Toxicrene. Tyrant Guard, Venomthropes, Zoanthropes. Mawloc, Mucolids. Parasite, Ravenous, Rippers, Spore Mines, regular Trygon, all the aircraft. So I guess just the Thornbacks otherwise. So yeah, just the Trygon Prime, the Tyranid Prime, the Thornbacks, and the Neurothropes. As far as I know. So a bunch of the characters. Honestly, that's like fine. I think Tyranids had too many superfluous characters. It's the Hive Tyrant show these days anyway, so it is what it is. Hive Tyrants are pretty okay at breaking armor. They're not like, amazing at it, but they'll close things out if you've laser beamed it enough with Zoanthropes. I hope Zoanthropes are cheap. If Zoanthropes are, well, they can't be that cheap because they're 2 all-purpose. They've got a good blast attack and a good anti-tank attack, so they're probably too strong to be too cheap. The Forge World monster is probably gone. Yeah, those aren't in the Codex, though. That's harder to say. We know that Stone Crushers are gone, and Dimacarons are legended, and the Malanthrope is legended, right? But the Hierophant is for sure in, and that means Harry Dan is probably in. And I think the Hieroduals are in, most likely. Lictors don't do grappling hooks. They grappling hook units to their death. They latch a grappling hook on you and drag you directly to hell. What are the big winners, do we think, chat? What do we pick? I think I'm taking notes down. I think Carnifexes rule. I think Gargoyles are fucking nuts. Lictors are insane. I kind of don't want to say I think the Hive Tyrant is insane because it did get like massively debuffed, but holy crap, is Will of the Hive Mind super strong. Plus Onslaught's also strong. Like, neither of these abilities are bad. He can just equip a venom cannon and advance it around, like advance around the table and shoot with it. Pyrovores for sure. Zoanthropes are a winner. I don't. I'm so sold. I'm not sold on Zoanthropes, I think, chat. I don't know. Don't take heavy guns. I mean, like, but what are the Monstrous Talons doing? I think you take the gun on the perfectly adapted guy for sure. Because you get a wound reroll in there, right? So, like, you almost might as well. His gun has the best chance out of almost anything in the Codex at converting an actual 3 damage hit onto somebody. And that lets you use, if you pay for the perfectly adapted, that lets you use it before the, before you get to melee, which is good. Old One Eye is decent, but if the cost is high, then no. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that for sure. Spore Mine spam will happen. God, I hope Spore Mine spam doesn't happen. It's less powerful than it was.
Is there a CP cap? Lictor versus Command Squad equals +5 CP.
Mike, first of all, thanks for the super chat, my guy. There is a CP cap. You can only gain 1 CP per battle round beyond the Battleforge CP. It's actually explained in the command phase section, which I could show you in a second because I'm right there on my rulebook. Right here. Outside of the CP players gain at the start of the command phase, a player can only gain 1 CP per battle round, regardless of the source. So, importantly, you can't stack Lictors, like, you can't stack Lictors killing multiple characters a bunch of times, and you can't stack Lictors with the Swarmlord, because the Swarmlord gains you 1. So, honestly, like we talked about before, if you have the Swarmlord, which you probably do, it kind of feels like, The Lictor ability is basically just blank. Like, it will basically never trigger until the Swarmlord's dead, in which case, I don't know, I think the game's going poorly for you. But it does stack with free CP abilities, because these don't gain you CP or refund you CP. They reduce the amount that you spend. So you can have up to, if this guy does two CP stratagems per battle round, because he does it once every turn. So he could do like the exploding 5s or the critical 5s in your fight phase, and then heroically intervene in your opponent's fight phase, in your opponent's charge phase. So that's 4 CP worth of stratagems, plus the 2 that you gain from Battleforge, plus Swarmlords. So you can spend 7, which is pretty good. So it's like if you like eat your heart out, Space Marines. Like, honestly, they're all like, oh, look at me, we have Rites of Battle and Guilliman, and Swarmlord's over here like, what if you were Lord Solar and had Guilliman at the same time? And all of those had like twin linked melee weapons. Swarmlord plus Lictor plus Deathleaper. I think you have to see the points for Deathleaper, because in 9th edition, Deathleaper was, if I remember correctly, twice the cost of a Lictor. And if they keep the, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, they probably keep like the same pricing structure, because they just do their points values in like a Excel spreadsheet. They don't really usually balance them very well. I think unreleased Deathleaper was 95. She was like 25 points more than a Lictor. And I think the Lictor's 70, right? Yeah. Which was pretty reasonable, but then they just nerfed Deathleaper because they thought it was broken. Because you could do a banner on the middle objective and then pull into reserve with the stratagem. So yeah, it's not quite twice as much as a Lictor. It's 50 points more, so whatever, 60% more than a Lictor. 70% more than a Lictor, I guess. So if they maintain that like points value discrepancy, I don't think Deathleaper is that great over the cost of a normal Lictor. Which is definitely like harder to kill and has cooler special abilities for sure, but is it worth like 70 points or whatever? I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Tyrant Guard too. Let's go to the Tyrant Guard. As far as we know, there's no way to assign multiple characters to these guys, right? So you can't add multiple buffs to them. The only one that they can get is from the Neurothrope, and it's if you exclude Hive Tyrants from the unit. And that's a little bit sad for me, because I really want to add a Hive Tyrant with a Neurothrope and get the unit +1 to hit. Because they're really bad at fighting unless they're swinging with Rending Claws, and even then with Crushing Claws, excuse me. But even then, the Crushing Claws are hitting on 4s. I guess you just... do you just take the dumb Cleaver? Like the twin-linked Cleaver? Blah. I don't know. The Tyrant Guard profile is a little bit uninspiring to me, honestly. The Toughness 8 is good, but I wish they were Toughness 9. And like Toughness 9 is a much nicer breakpoint. Toughness 8 is like kind of 7.5, I guess. And I wish either they were tankier or they hit harder. I guess maybe we're just spoiled by like the 2+ save, naturalized camo, like billion attack guys that we have right now. Perfectly adapted says or, not and. That means it's a single reroll. Correct. It's a single reroll every turn, which is important. Not every round. So you get 2 per battle round. So it's basically like, it's like 2 command point rerolls per battle round, essentially. Tyrant Guard are the best unit. Are they? Tyrant Guard's ability only works against precision. Yeah, literally only works against precision. It doesn't do anything against any other attacks, because any other attacks have to be assigned to the Tyrant Guard, and they don't get their own ability. Only the attached Tyrant does. I also think, I mean, like we said, right? The play pattern is that you put the Tyrant Guard out of line of sight, so precision weapons would automatically hit the Tyrant, and then you would just be like, well, I have a 5+, so maybe I don't die. Vindicare plus 15 Rattlings as a go in every list. Yeah, that sounds bad. Yeah, the Vindicare looks rough. I don't know how people are going to deal with that guy. Lone operative on a like infinite range gun is pretty nutso. T8 is very good on infantry. Yeah, but like, is it? Like, it protects you against power fists, I guess. Like, strength 4 weapons and power fists are the two things that T8's good against. But every other profile in the game, it's just like wins them on either 5s or 3s. So, and strength 4, I'm like, I guess strength 4 AP 0, like having the -1 to be wounded from that is pretty good. Because you don't get cover against it.
I like the Exocrine, Hive Guard, and Psychophage. But I also don't know what makes something good in 40k, so maybe I'm way off the mark.
Alec, man, thank you for the super chat. To be fair, basically all of us are just kind of talking off the cuff right now, because I can't imagine a single one of us in this chat have played a game of 10th edition 40k. I'm gonna, now that we have this full index out, and we'll have Space Marines out tomorrow, I'm gonna try to get some games in this weekend. Just kind of making up points, or maybe just using the 9th edition points and like winging it. Just to like get a feel for it. But right now we're just kind of like talking randomly. The thing to consider is, like, you know, whether or not your units are actually threatening to your opponent, because a lot of 40k is actually killing people on objectives to fight, like, for objective control. And if your army is good at surviving but not good at inflicting damage back to them, then they just get to attack you infinitely, and you don't really do anything. the Vindicare pistol Yahtzees, he does 18 mortals, yeah. I think there is an open question, and it will most likely be FAQ'd, but I think that the Vindicare devastating wounds actually explicitly doesn't work with precision. I was reading through the attack modifiers, and the example here, which I had kind of missed earlier. I'm going to sneeze, chat. One sec. Oh my gosh, excuse me. The example here specifies that you don't allocate the attack, which means that if you devastate with a precision weapon, you can't assign it to the character because you allocate it like a normal wound. I wasn't sure if that was how it worked. I assumed that wasn't how it worked, but it does look like that is explicitly how that interaction works. So I think if the Vindicare devastating wounds you, he just like gets wrecked. He like doesn't do anything to the character he's shooting at, which will for sure be FAQ'd. Worried about T12 heavy vehicles? Yeah. I think that will... I have to imagine that will likely be Tyranid's really big weak point, is the high toughness vehicles. They have a lot of twin-linked weapons. There's a lot of wound rerolls in this faction. But there's not a lot of like really heavy punchy stuff. I think Carnifexes are supposed to be the way out, because they're just strength 14 las cannons in melee. So like a unit of Carnifexes should kill most vehicles in the game. What's up, kitty cat? But you have to deliver them, which is rough. Anyway, chat. That's all I got to say about the Tyranid Codex. Do we have any final thoughts? Any final units that we want to puzzle ourselves over? I wonder if there's like any hidden gems in here we didn't talk enough about. The Maleceptor is kind of cool. I don't think its gun averages that much damage, though, to be real. 18-inch range is really rough, and it can't advance and shoot unless you have a Hive Tyrant there. Plus, it has to like get enemies in melee, and it's a blast weapon, so it can't even shoot its own gun into melee. It feels like extremely anti-synergistic. It's also really bad at attacking. I don't think this guy's very good, unless he's very cheap, and then he's great. How does this faction deal with the Repulsor Rush Templar with army-wide lethal hit chainswords? Honestly, if you put intercessors in front of this army, it will probably kill all of them. If there's one profile that Tyranids look absolutely geared to destroy, it's fucking intercessors. So yeah, I wouldn't be that worried about that, honestly. You just put some lictors in the way, and your opponent's like, I'm going to charge you with 5 intercessors with lethal hits and stuff. And the lictor's like, I killed 4 of them. Your go. And then your opponent's like, this sucks. Why is the lictor better than the parasite? They do entirely different things, chat. So the parasite of Mortrex is like a little objective control dude. Let me go find him. Here he is. The Lictor is more combat-oriented. So the Parasite of Mortrex doesn't do any damage. He has a bunch of attacks, but it's all like anti-light infantry. The Parasite, or the Lictors have much more powerful, higher AP attacks, so they're much better against armored infantry. And they have precision, so they're also good against characters. But then the other thing, the most important thing that the Lictors do is... they have their combination of core abilities are much stronger. So this guy's like lone operative stealth, which is fine. But then mostly what he wants to do is get up in the range of objectives, drop enemy objective control, and then battle shock them, so they lose control of the objectives. So he's this like primary objective control monkey. The Lictors are like turn 0 forward operators. So they have infiltrators, so they can deploy up in front of your army. And you have redeploys now with the new enhancement, so you can like move them around pregame. So you can stop your opponent from infiltrating on you. You can stop your opponent from deep striking early. They can hold objectives early and do actions. And then they're difficult to kill because they fight first if you get them into melee, and you can't shoot them at long range. So whereas the Parasite's like running onto objectives and trying to steal them, the Lictor is like doing utility stuff, basically, and kind of being like obnoxious to deal with while it happens. It's a little until you like play the two on the table, like they're basically just like diametrically opposed models. The Lictor is good in turn 1 and 2 for like defending your territory and preventing enemies from doing things, and the Parasite's good on like turns 3+ when you're fighting for objectives. They'll still have 2 big models that come out that aren't shown here. They'll have Forge World stuff, if that's what you're referring to. But these are all of the data sheets up until the Codex release, which is like in September or something. I don't think the -1 to hit and wound on the Maleceptor looks good. No, because the range is so restricted. The enemy unit, the model making the attack has to be within 6 inches of the Maleceptor. So it's good at like tanking, but only in melee. And it's not like a fast model. So it's not gonna like jam into your opponent's army and then like ruin their game plan, because I think they're just gonna kill it. I might be wrong. This might be fine, but like because it works offensively and not defensively, your opponent has a lot of control over it. So like it can charge into melee and then be like, you're -1 to hit and wound, haha, get wrecked, and then they can't kill it, and they're like, no, this sucks. But then they're just like, I'll move away from you, and then I'll shoot, and I'll be at 0 penalty or whatever, and you're like, all right, cool. And it does like force them off middle objectives and stuff. I think it plays with the Maleceptor play pattern pretty well, but I don't think it's super exciting. Yeah, he's a real centerboard kind of guy, which is always what the Maleceptor did, but it never required that it be in melee with people before. Maleceptor with Assault from the Hive Tyrant is good. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Onslaught from the Hive Tyrant, the more I think about it, is actually great. It does make the whole army like a little bit more flexible. Please don't tell me my Dima is gone forever. If you play in tournaments, it is. But if you play out of tournaments, you can do whatever you want. You can no longer play it in competitive play, though. What happens if a unit with OC1 gets halved by a Ripper Swarm? No one knows. Nobody knows. It's like dividing by 0. Yeah, you can also shoot monsters in melee, yeah. As long as they're not, as long as you're not blasting. Indeed. What's S tier? I'm going to say Swarmlord and Hive Tyrants. I'm going to say Gargoyles. I'm going to say Lictors. Bloop. Those are my S tier picks. Points, depending, of course. Gargoyles look amazing, though. Gargoyles look so sick. Like, this unit looks nuts, so honestly. I wouldn't be shocked if Gargoyles go to, like, a wild points value. They just have so many abilities in their card. It's incredible. Oh, excuse me. Are the brain bugs worth it? We'll have to see points. Their gun is really good, but if they're too expensive, then it's not good. It's low volume, and they have there's no redundancy to them. So even a maximum unit is like 6 shots. Like a maximum unit of Zoanthropes puts out like an equivalent damage output to like 1 Land Raider, basically. Like a single Predator Annihilator almost. So like, if they're super expensive and they're like this 50 point per model, like, super unit, then I actually don't think that they're very good. You compare them to like a Devastator squad that's going to be 30 points a model and has the same weapon, and you're going to be like, oh, this is sad. But if they're costed appropriately, I think they'll be great. I do think Raveners look good. I do think Raveners look good for sure. That is a unit that, I mean, there's like, once you get to this nitty gritty, it was like, what's the top 8 or whatever? Like, it's impossible to say without points values. If Raveners are the same points cost as they are in 9th edition right now, they are unplayable garbage. They're so bad. But if they're the points value, if they're 25 points a model or 28 or 30, they're probably pretty solid. The problem I'm foreseeing with Raveners is that their whole play pattern is reliant on killing whatever they charge, and I think that they're gonna struggle. You can take up to 6, and the new melee rules are really not conducive to 6 model 40 mil base units. So like, they can't advance and charge anymore, so they're restricted to a 10-inch threat range. They can't get all their attacks on target, and then they're only AP 1/1 damage. So like, I mean, like, how often are you gonna get like 5 Space Marines to charge or whatever? And these guys will like eat 5 Space Marines and run away, and that's cute, but I don't know how often that's gonna happen to you. And then their defensive profile is like so crappy that they just immediately vaporize if they are if they're caught out in the open. So I would be a little bit worried about them. You cannot use 9 Raveners, chat. Can we check what's actually Synapse? Well, I can check that Warriors are Synapse. I'm not gonna like do a Synapse search because that would get every single unit in the Codex. Warriors are Synapse keyworded. Look at that. Nice. Parasite's still Synapse. I don't think the Synapse has changed. Tervigon's still Synapse. Warrior Prime. Oh, the Broodlord lost it. That's relevant. It's kind of annoying, actually. Fuck you, Broodlord. You suck. I have such a love-hate relationship with the Broodlord. Actually, no, I have like a hate-hate relationship. How are Venomthropes? Venomthropes look fine. They don't do as much damage as they did in... They're not as survivable, and they don't do as much damage as they did in 9th edition, but that's probably fine because they probably did more damage than they needed to and were more survivable. But now their defensive aura is just super good. If you're not a monster, you get +1 save and -1 to be hit. They lost their Fight Last too, but like, I mean, I think everything did. I think Fight Last as a mechanic was removed from the game, so it's not surprising. The Parasite did lose it? I thought that I had checked that, but maybe I just didn't. Oh yeah, you're right. I could have sworn I saw it there. No, you're right. Interesting. So like the little characters lost it. I assume the Trygon doesn't have it. Yeah. The Spore Assist used to gain it. I imagine that lost it too. Yeah. Psychophage isn't. This isn't randomly Synapse though. Yeah, I don't know what else would be Synapse. Everything in the faction has the Synapse ability. I explained it at the beginning of the stream chat. How the Synapse, why they have the Synapse ability. Basically, the Synapse ability gives you the ability to receive the Synapse aura. The Synapse keyword is what gives you the Synapse aura. You can scroll back to the beginning. It was like the first thing I talked about. I only loved the Broodlord when I thought he gave everything cover for a turn. Unironically, yes. That would not have been a broken ability. I'll die on that hill. That ability would have been fine. The fact that they kept arbitrarily restricting random garbage in the Tyranid Codex and nobody played was like really annoying. You can give the Broodlord Synaptic Linchpin. Does it do anything? Oh yeah, I guess so. It doesn't extend your Synapse range. It just gives you a Synapse range. That's pretty cool. I guess maybe that's like part of the play pattern, right? That's the intended use of case of that, is to give a character that's not normally Synapse a Synapse ability. If you search for Synapse Valdor, you'll get every single unit in the Codex. That's why we didn't do that earlier. Oh yeah, did Zoanthropes have it? That'd be wild if Zoanthropes weren't Synapse creatures. They're just literally made out of psychic stuff. Yeah, they still have it. They still got it. They also have Shadow. So you don't have to take Hive Tyrants if you have them in your army. It's kind of cute. Not that you wouldn't. You'd probably have it. How to use the Hormagaunts? The Hormagaunts are... They look like just a once per game like nuclear missile for an objective. You like... because they're the only thing that can advance and charge now, like they actually have a threat range that like is will possibly ever get to melee. Where did they go? So they're like move 10 plus d6 plus the charge. So they're actually reasonably fast enough to actually charge something without just getting killed. And then you can like overrun them and pile a bunch of them onto an objective, and they steal the objective for a turn. I think that's just their play pattern. I don't think they might do a little bit of damage if you're like, you know, like lethal hitting something, and they'll do a little bit of AP1 tickling, but for the most part, they'll just like overrun and get big consolidations and touch the objectives, and then jump a bunch of OC2 onto it. So it's really just fast OC2. But the question is whether you want to do that and do like the 10-inch move plus advance plus charge, or just have Gargoyles do it. They can't go into engagement range, so they can be screened out. But they also do other stuff better than Hormagaunts do, so I don't know. I do wonder if like they get sustained hits from the winged prime. So you can have like 20 dudes with these guys still coming in packs of 20, right? You can have like 20 dudes with sustained hits like fire and fading every turn. Is that good? Probably not. They're AP 0. And there's like no rerolls to speak of. You could point rerolls at these units, they'd be worth taking, but you can't. All Synapse keywords get Shadow. I don't believe that's the case. You have to have a unit with the Shadow in the Warp ability in order to use the Shadow in the Warp. Oh, you mean like it's just all of the Synapse, like the stuff that has Synapse also has Shadow? Oh, I think I understand. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's the case. Does the Tervigon have Shadow in the Warp? Yeah. All right. No, I've got you. I'm onto you. I agree. Do I think Venomthropes would give some of the more fragile units the durability they need? I mean, Venomthropes are always like pretty solid. The compounding defensive profiles is always like usually what you want to be doing. So taking like cover plus a 2+ save, or like cover plus like high toughness and stuff is kind of where you want to go. But like cover on a 4+ save is comparatively less benefit than it is on like a 2+ or 3+ save. But the stealth is good on whatever, on anything. Stealth is always equally good. None of the adaptations change your AP value, chat. They all just affect your attacks. The sustained hits one is get extra hits. The lethal hits one is automatically wound with your hits. So it doesn't change your opponent's saving characteristic. Scottluck's going to the doctor. Hope you have a good doctor's appointment. Hormagaunts could be nice with Gorgon if they keep similar mechanics. There are no more Hive Fleet sub-factions chat. No armies have sub-factions anymore. So there's no more like Hive Fleet Gorgon versus Leviathan and all that stuff. Yeah, everybody's psychic powers are downgraded. That's not surprising at all, for sure. Like, just look at like Eldari is a pretty good example. All right, chat. I'm going to go ahead and I think we're going to wrap things up here. Might do some first impression stuff on the channel. I have a couple hours to kill, so that might be the way to go. I think that's what we'll do. I released a bunch of videos over the last couple of hours. I released one where I broke down a bunch of offensive statistics in the game. So it's an interesting look at comparing survivability between 8th and 9th edition and the different weapon profiles that are good and bad. So highly recommend you go check that out. There's also some weirdness with people getting really, really butthurt about the Eldari sub-faction. Before we even know how many points they cost. So go watch those videos. I should be live this weekend playing some games. I'm going to try to get some 10th edition games over the weekend if I can find somebody to play with. We might just grind some games to get a feel for it before we get points next week. So go follow me over on the Purple channel over on Twitch. There's a link down in the video description to get to my link tree, and all my social medias are there, so you can get to my Twitch channel there. And if you're not on the Tactical Tortoise TV YouTube channel, youtube.com/TacticalTortoiseTV, I think all of my 9th edition VODs are up there now. I don't believe any more are going up. I do have a couple more Speed Freaks games to post, but then as soon as or at least shortly after they process, I play 10th edition games. I'll try to get them up there as quickly as possible so that we can get some 10th edition content going. Anyway, let's wrap things up. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So thanks everyone for coming hanging out. I think I will be live tomorrow morning with the Space Marine one. We're going to talk Space Marines 2. So come hang out with that as well. So lots of streaming going on. It'll be great. Good stuff. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll see you around.